Right, hello, another video incoming. Weather's crap today, raining, which is pretty standard. I'm rocking an umbrella. The camera might be waterproof, but I'm not. But it's not going to stop me. Got to do this. Set yourself some goals to get fitter. So the topic of this one, I've got to say, I'm starting to run a bit thin on the ground. Things to talk about that I'm interested in. So, but the big one, I kind of say, well, the big-ish one for me, and that's the death of physical media in games and movies as well. It's really starting to impact there. And what it means. Now, when I do these videos, they're very much done from a personal perspective. I'm not making generalizations. I know that some people, they don't give a crap about physical media. They like the convenience of downloading a game, and there's somebody that is lucky enough to be able to game on a PC and on consoles. I see both sides of it. On PC, you're pretty much locked into downloading off Steam or GOG, Epic Games Store, whichever one. You're pretty much locked into that. Don't really have much of a choice, because a lot of companies, they don't bother releasing the physical media on PC now. You get the odd exception, but not enough for it to be the rule. So, yeah, I see it from that perspective. Console gaming though, I see it from that perspective of, well, discs, cartridges, they've traditionally been the way of delivering games for years. You know, if you look at right away from the beginning, stuff like the Atari 2600 cartridges, and even on bang up to today with the PS5, Xbox Series X, discs. The thing now though is you're starting to see discs just being used, and the cartridges on the Switch being used as nothing more than authentication keys. I've touched upon this in a previous video. You're not seeing it being used to actually deliver the content, but rather you pop the thing in and it starts to download the game, which means that you have to have an internet connection on the console, which sucks because it removes the portability of the console. Touched upon this with the Switch. You know, the Switch 2 kind of defeats the objective of having something that you can take on holiday with you, and you buy a game when you're on holiday and you've no internet connection and you can't play the game. So, I have a squirrel. Now, apparently, There's a news article that these suckers getting vicious. So he doesn't seem bothered. I'll leave him be. He's not trying to eat my face off. So it's about as furthest down I've walked on this. You know, I might go a little bit further, go a bit of a different way. Eh? I know this place runs a bit further on, but well, actually now sod it, because it's got a road up here. So I will see you in the next one in the park. Right, so we're in the park. Still a few people out. Mind you, the rain has eased up a bit at the moment, so they're probably taking advantage of it, because I think there's about an hour window and then it's going to set in for the rest of the day. So they're probably trying to take advantage of it. Fair enough. There's the allotments behind there. I don't know if you can see it. You probably can't. So yeah. So yeah, we're like with the Switch 2, as I was saying about the physical media going away. I'm kind of disappointed with Nintendo, because I thought that they would be the holdouts against this download only. You can probably see the allotments through there. They seem to be the holdouts on this, and now I think it's pressure from developers and publishers, well, the publishers more than developers, to go down this pathway of download only, because it just gives them control over where and when you can play their games. You know, they micromanage all elements of your entertainment these days because it's about making money. There's no other reason. They weren't clearly the industry that was growing exponentially before, you know, from like the mid to late 90s onwards. Clearly they were struggling. I'm being sarcastic, you know. No, they weren't. But they just have to make even more money and more money and more money. And guess what? The quality suffers. So they want control because they want to. It's like even with single player, even with a single player element to the games, you quite often these days need to be connected online. Gran Turismo is a classic case of that, you know. I'm playing single player, why do I need to be online? And they come up with some nonsense about auction rooms. They did it with Diablo, they did it with that, and they'll keep doing it until, you know, they just edge it further and further into the game. They come up with absolute drivel as to why. I mean, there is absolutely no reason for it. It's just, that's what they do to have control. So they can flip a switch and take it off a server, shut the server down, and you can't play it anymore. Or you can play a skeletal representation even in the single player. and then they'll release a new version, and that kind of forces you onto buying that. So essentially, makes the game redundant, destroys that part, and then you're left with nothing, or very little. So if you want to keep playing games, you know, be entertained, what have you got to do? You know, you've got to buy the latest version, even if that latest version might actually be shit. Which, that happens quite a lot as well. You get the latest, newer versions of games are not as good as the older versions. Oh. God, sinuses are getting wrecked. Yes, it's like the dampness. But yeah. What happens? Well, you either buy the new game or you don't. That's like your choices, isn't it? That's all you've got. It means collecting games is pointless, because what's the point? And with physical media these days going out the door, and because even with, if you do get the physical game, the other thing to consider, if it's got a limited lifespan, trading values will plummet. You know, unless you're trading it in after a very short period of time. She's crap, innit? So they get you always. And people sleepwalked into it. People are impatient. They can't be bothered to go out and get the game. And that's it. The flip side as well to that, sorry, not the flip side, but a consequence of that is we're seeing physical media stores going away. While I was in hospital, a local video game store to me shut. That was the only place that sold games. Supermarkets used to, but now they don't. So getting hold of a physical copy of the game now, for me, is Amazon. And funnily enough, they've not been that great in stocking physical media. I could not get, I wanted to get the Indiana Jones game on the Xbox Series X. Couldn't get it. Amazon didn't have it. No physical media stores to go to. And I thought, well, I'm not paying the inflated digital price on Xbox, so I got it on PC because it was cheaper. It's a good game, but I would have got it on disc. I prefer to have got it on disc. But then you wonder, even if I did get it on disc, would it actually be on the disc, or would it just be an authentication code? Because that's what we're seeing now. Like I say, would it just start doing 100 gigabyte download, which, I mean, I've got full fibre, and that still takes a little while. But if you're on part fibre, which I was up until about a month ago, I was getting about 70 megabits per second download. If you're on that, you're going to be waiting hours. Just to play a game, when in the past you just put the disc in and off you went. I know file sizes are bigger now, and they're using the hard drives, the SSDs, to load in because of texture popping issues. Although, funnily enough, I was playing Space Marine 2 on the PC. I actually finished it yesterday, and when I finished it, let's go back this way. I think there's a few people having a conflab with the dogs down there. Oh, I just got raindrops on my head from the tree. Yeah, like I had texture popping on that, and that was playing on the PC with an SSD, and the textures were actually popping in and then popping out and then popping back in again, which was just so hilariously bad. I can only assume either maybe it's a graphics setting I've got that's not right, or alternatively it's an issue with the optimization of the game. It wouldn't surprise me if it's the latter, because by and large games on the PC are terribly optimized. Borderlands 4, sorry Randy Pitchford to use it again, but that is atrocious. I'm glad I got it on PS5. I mean, it's not perfect, but it apparently runs a lot better on console, which is hilariously bad, you know, bearing in mind I'm running it on a £2,500 PC. I would have been running it, sorry, on a £2,500 PC. But yeah, it's a couple of years old now, but it's a lot more powerful than the consoles. I mean, I've got a titanium 4070 NVIDIA titanium 4070 card in there, you know, an i7. It well outdoes my consoles, you know, and other games I've got, they look far better on the PC, but so they should, because you're stacking that against a £500 games console. It should look better. But anyway, you know, poor optimization aside, you know, it's an install. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was the same thing with the Indiana Jones game, or I know there was a huge patch for Borderlands 4 when I downloaded it, as usual, day one patch. Not downloaded it, installed it off the disc. Now that actually did install off the disc onto the console, but then there was a giant patch, and quite often without these day one patches the game doesn't work. So again, you know, at some point in the future you might have bought the game, installed it, finished it, you've had to uninstall it to play something else, and you come to install it again and they can't download that patch because they don't want you to play it. They've said, no, you're done. You got to play Borderlands 5. Or that, I think what the trick is, to be honest with you, I think what the trick is in what they're doing is so they can remaster these games and sell them to you again down the line. You're seeing an awful lot of that these days as well. I've seen it with the new Gears game, 2 remasters. You know, the original game came out, was it 2006? And then they remastered it, I think in 2010, in 2015, 2016, I think it was. And they remastered it again and released it on PS5. Now, in fairness, because I had bought the original, well, not the original, or I did buy the original back in 2006, and then I bought the remaster again. Not again, I bought the remaster. God, maybe I can formulate a structured sentence without sounding like a complete prat. I got a notification and a code from Microsoft to say, well, because you've done this, you can have this for free. That's fair enough. But that's a one-off. It's a rarity, you know. So yeah, that was that. It's like, oh, okay. The point is that it's control, isn't it? It's another a level of control. You've seen digital remasters on PC replace the actual digital, the original game. I think Stalker's done that. I went into my Steam library and it was like a new edition of the Stalker games, and that was it. You know, you can't get that old version. If I uninstall that old version, or if you want to buy the old version, which might actually work better on your hardware that you've got, you can't. Basically, you can't. So again, it's levels of control, and it's what control is being done with the removal of physical media. Makes it easy. You know, like I said the other day, if I've got a original PlayStation and I download a game on that original PlayStation, and I don't download it, bloody hell, put the disc in on the original PlayStation, even with the PlayStation 2, and I think the PlayStation 3, depending on which one you've got, I can play the game. I don't need to download it. There's no update required. It will play the game happily from the disc. We lose that, or we're losing that. No installs, no nonsense. Don't need an internet connection, and I can play great games. Yeah, they don't look as nice as the ones today, but they play, often in many cases, they actually play better, because it's more about the gameplay rather than looking all swish and fancy. Again, it's levels of control that they want. They want to dictate when, where, and how you play the game that you've paid for. You know, they're doing the same with movies. That's, you know, same thing is happening with films. The same thing will be happening with, same thing happens with music. While they've got that control over you, there's nothing that you can do. You have to like it or lump it. And I think it's wrong. I really do think it's wrong. People should be able, you know, especially with single player games, what the hell do you need online for? It's a single player game. You know, it's not a new game. It's a single player, and you should be free to enjoy that when, where, and how you want. Multiplayer online, of course, but the rest of it, no. And with the death of physical media, what we're seeing is the loss of outlets that sell games now. You know, culturally, we're becoming more isolated, and yeah, collecting games, enjoying old games is going to be a thing of the past. And at the basis of this all is greed. That's what it boils down to, is greed. It boils down to these companies making money but wanting to make even more. So I think that'll do. I'm going to head off home now before it starts to absolutely hammer it down with rain. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next one. Might talk about something positive, maybe talk about games that I've played. And I am mindful of the fact that the opening salvo in this series of games has been by and large quite negative. But yeah, got to get things said. So yeah, that'll do for now, and I'll catch you later.